It's an interesting conundrum. What do you get for the guy who kills everybody? And a judge has appointed a psychiatrist to perform an evaluation of suspected terrorist Zacarias Moussaoui to determine if he is competent to waive counsel. Hey, Doc, just a tip. If he thinks we're all out to get him and want him dead at any cost, he's not paranoid, just perceptive. You know, maybe we ought to wiretap the voices in Moussaoui's head. You know, there are times I'd love to shut this guy up, but I guess he deserves his right to speak. I might not agree with it, but I'll defend to your death your right to say it, Moussaoui. Now, I don't want to get off on a rant here, but after September 11th, freedom of speech in America has become a topic that's touchier than a Vatican summer camp. You know, our founding... Our founding fathers were supreme champions of freedom of speech, but we should never forget that Alexander Hamilton was shot over something he said. Because in their infinite wisdom, our founding fathers also gave us the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, which is a reminder that while we can pretty much say and do whatever we want, you better watch it, asshole. The free speechers always argue the slippery slope theory. If you muzzle free speech before you know it, we're living in 1984 and Big Brother is picking out our ties for us. Those seeking to control free speech, on the other hand, argue that if we allow Johnny Soulpatch to burn the flag, before you know it, we're living in the Lord of the Flies and Piggy is fighting for his life. But there is a middle ground between government rule and mob rule, a place where only those who can make obscure references to literature, art, and pop culture on their weekly cable show will be allowed to speak freely. A utopia, if you will. You know, our enemies see our diversity of opinion as evidence that we are weak and divided, but as the very presence of a vibrant marketplace of ideas that ensures our continued survival. That, of course, and the high-tech weapons that can lock in on the glint off a scimitar from 5,000 miles away. As much as I believe that our leaders have followed exactly the right course in wiping out the Taliban assholes who gave safe haven to the murderers of my fellow citizens, I recognize that the dissenters to the war and the verbal defenders of our enemies fulfill a vital function in our democracy. Specifically, they give me somebody to hate whose name I can actually pronounce. As much as we don't like to admit it, you got to say the freedom to bash the U.S. government is a unique and beautiful phenomenon when done with a certain degree of panache. I've noticed that in the Middle East, when they burn the American flag, they aren't even using real flags. They're just using flags painted on the sheets. And this really pisses me off because there are hard-working kids in Taiwan who make our flags who can use every penny they get. As a matter of fact, at this point, the only thing that galls me about someone burning the American flag is how unoriginal it is. I mean, if you're going to pull the freedom of speech card, don't be a hack. Come up with something interesting. Fashion Old Glory into a wisecracking hand puppet and blister the system with a scathing ventriloquist actor. Or better yet, drape the flag over your head and desecrate it with a large caliber bullet hole, okay? Once, thank you for almost sauntering down the Jingo Road with me. Once hotbeds of free speech, college campuses across the country have engaged in an arms race to see who can craft the most restrictive speech code. Years of political correctness, binge drinking, and dropping Bing cherries out of your ass into a shot glass have bred a backlash now where anyone who dares to stray outside the conventional school of wisdom in college is ostracized, slapped with the mark of Cain, and worst of all, made to forfeit their student activity fee discount to see Dave Matthews Jam, and more importantly, Inspire during spring fling on the quad. You know, whatever happened to the notion that college was a place where the best minds in the nation vigorously debated all sides of an issue while the rest of us went back to the dorm and tried to get laid? Usually by ourselves. You know, I have no problem. I have no problem with people who respond to what they don't agree with. I enjoy the drama of a toppled podium and the sound of microphone feedback as much as the next guy. What I do have a problem with are the people who fail to see the glaring hypocrisy of screaming the word "shut up" into a bullhorn. Why should even the most repugnant ideas receive the same freedom of expression as more accepted ones? Because the American system is less a free marketplace of ideas than it is a playground of free ideas. And the best way to dispense with the unpopular ideas is to let them roam free on the playground so they can have their asses kicked up and down the jungle gym by the cool ideas. You know, the ability to be critical of our government is what makes this country great. Thanks to these freedoms, we get the hip irreverence of Art Bookwald, the folksy yet politically incisive song stylings of Mark Russell, and the fantastic parodies of the group The Capitol Steps. And it's for these reasons alone we must squash free speech immediately and become a police state. You know, we need to let those who repulse us have their say alongside those whose speeches make us rise to our feet in applause. How else will the shiny pearl of wisdom stick out against the black velvet of stupidity? It's better to just let the Ku Klux Klan march through your town than it is to waste your time and money trying to stop them. Instead of challenging their right to free speech, use your energy to point out to your children the irony of the fat guys in the pointy hats and the pea-stained bed sheets spouting forth all sorts of monosyllabic eugenic claptrap, and all the while claiming to be the master race. Of course, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong.